Without any further deliberation, I will just introduce myself. My name is Phila Phungula. And here there's a story, right? I was in my first year and when I joined the university, I was going to do something else and ended up loving coding and will sit there for hours just coding. But I remember, because of the way that we used to code back then, we'll have code from the beginning up until the end. And if you run that code, it will then have bugs, and you'll have to go to each and every line to check what is going on, what is the problem, and try to solve it, right? And every time you change something, and obviously when you run it again, something will be messed up. And so that is monolithic application that we were using back then. So that's a bit of a story about myself. And today we'll be talking about why should we be talking about microservices, some of the drawbacks, and then why you as an organization will want to move to microservices. When and why should you move to microservices? So what I will do today, I'll talk about these, and then later on, I would like to show you a demo, a simple demo of microservices. Please, you can write on the chat your questions at any time, but just know that I will wait up until the end just to make sure that I cover everything, but also to avoid just moving, because I have a lot of like going back and forth, right? So I'll be writing on the whiteboard, and then I'll then move onto the website where I show you the code pattern that I've tried on. So let me stop sharing and go back to sharing on the whiteboard. This is where I'll be recording or writing the information that I want to write. So I hope you can still see my screen.
Yes.
Yes, okay, cool. Just bear with me while I try and figure out what I'm trying to do here, because of obviously not being used to Zoom at times. Right, so I just want to draw a few things, and then I'll talk about what I'm doing here in a minute. Okay, cool. So the first thing that we want to talk about, if you want to understand what is microservices, you need to understand what is monolithic applications, right? So when I mentioned the fact that when I was in varsity, you had code that was from the beginning up until the end, where you are creating this application. It can be anything that you're creating, but it's from the beginning up until the end. And if there's anything wrong, you have to go through each and every line because it's in one place and you're creating this application. So that's the whole idea of a monolithic. And when it comes to monolithic, because you have this one application in one place, if it was written in Java at the beginning of the application, regardless of your skill, or let's say you join the development team later on, you'll be forced to write any additional features that you want to write using Java. So you cannot just change and write in Python or anything like that. And so that's a monolithic application. And with that, right, there are some drawbacks, obviously, with monolithic, and that's why a lot of companies are moving to microservices, namely your Netflix, your Amazon are moving to microservices, and I'll tell you why they're moving there. So if you have your monolithic application, you have all this code in one place, and if you want to add any features, you have to use the same feature. And let's say now you wanna, currently we have laws when it comes to data, right? Information about the people that are using your application. So you have to make sure that it's secure. But because it's monolithic and it's seeing it as a one application, it means that you have to put one security feature for the whole application, regardless of there's different sensitivity or information in that application, you'll have to put a uniform security for that. So those are some of the things that you'll find when you are using a monolithic application. And let's say now it's an e-commerce application where you're buying things online and so forth. And now there's a sale, there's Black Friday, there's all these different sales. What will happen with the monolithic application? You'll have to scale up the whole application. That means it uses more resources because you're scaling everything on the application. And if the spike of the traffic subside, you would have missed it because you had to obviously scale the whole application, which takes a while. So those are some issues when it comes to monolithic. And then I want to now talk about what is microservices. And obviously, I did mention only the drawbacks of monolithic, but I will also mention the drawbacks when it comes to microservices. So we're not trying to change your mindset. We're just making sure that you understand the different features when it comes to monolithic and microservices. And in order for you to understand microservices, you will have to understand the older way of doing application. And not to say that other companies are still not using or are now moved to microservices. It's a choice, and I'll tell you later about that. Why would you move to microservices and so forth? So if you have, so let's look at what is microservices. So it's splitting your application into smaller parts. You will have, if you think of your Amazon website, it has all these different departments, for your computer, for your other things, and all these different departments are going to be created separately, right? So each one can be written in a different language, whichever you, let's say you think as a team, this for this task, we think Python will be best for that. So you can create it in any language. So different part of the application can be written in any language that you want. You can add as many tools and database as you want, because it's loosely coupled. So it's not working together. If you change anything from one, it will not be affected by the other. So when I put all these different blocks here, I'm just trying to show you that in this application, it has smaller parts that are created independent of each other. And if there's anything that you need to change later on, you can, and it's not dependent on the other. Even when it comes to the security features, if, for example, this is where you keep all your customer information, all their bank details and so forth, you don't want to put the same features on the other ones. So you can put as much security features on that part of the application and not affect the other part of the application, right? And if there's, let's say now there's a spike in traffic because it's Black Friday, only the resources that are needed for the spike to happen or to enable it will then be scaled up instead of the whole application being scaled up. So this is the benefit of microservices. And this is great for companies that do not want any zero downtime, or do not want, actually cannot afford any zero downtime. These are companies that are systems as a service that need to always be available. So when you go to a website like Amazon, you want to make sure that it's available. If one part of the application is being updated or so forth, or department, it will not affect the whole application. So you can still go in and see the application and be able to work on the application, and it's not going to affect you as a user. So this is always great for those people, kind of things. And as a company, you need to make sure that, especially if you're an e-commerce company, you want to make sure that you're always available. And if there's any failure within your microservices, any part of the application, there's some failure in maybe the communication, then it's still working. So you're having it loosely coupled, where it's saying it's different, it's small, it's split in smaller parts, but it communicates with each other through API. So this is what is microservices is all about, right? So we did mention a bit about the fact that there's flexibility. You're allowed to use different languages, database, because each part of the application is loosely coupled. It's seen as one, as individual, and it's not affecting the others. When you're creating it and you think that at least for this part, we want to use Python because we think this will help in order for us to achieve the goals that we want to do. And then the other part, we want to use Java and so forth, or C++, you name it. You can find in the big development team, people working in different smaller teams and using the languages that they are most comfortable with. And so those are some of the benefits, right? And you want to make sure that as a company that you can adapt to technology as fast as possible, because you want to be because of the sensitivity of the digital age, but also so you can be have an advantage when it comes to adapting all these technologies that you want to enhance your application. So it allows you that flexibility to be able to adapt to all the technology and opportunity to grow as a business. And we did mention the fact that obviously if there's a spike in traffic, you'll be able to then only scale up what you need, so it won't use more resources. And we also mentioned the fact that you can put different security features for each part of the application. So here we've mentioned, the benefits of microservices and what some of the things that you as an organization might think you want to move to microservices because of the amazing features that you've talked about. But, with every technology out there or architecture like microservices architecture, there will be drawbacks. And one of the drawbacks when it comes to microservices is the latency, right? So remember, we're talking about API, we said they're talking to each other in order for the applications to be, the small applications, remember we're splitting the application to be able to talk to each other. So we'll now have dozens of calls going from each and every one, sending information to each other, so communicating. And that could cause latency issue where you are trying to do something on application and it will fail because of the things that is happening in the background, right? Because of the communication. There's also the problem of inconsistency where you're trying to load onto the application and it doesn't do what it wants, and it will take a while, right, for you to load whatever you're trying to do. And that's because the pink node is sending information to the blue node and it's taking a while to refresh and show you that information as the user. So those are some of the drawbacks when it comes to microservices. And the last one that I'll mention is the fact that, remember, we have these development teams and they are using different languages, different technologies out there. And because there's just so many that they're using, this could cause complicity in the organization. You have to update these tools. You have to make sure that they're all kept up to date. And remember, if you're creating all of them and just look at an Amazon website where it's just a lot of different departments, and let's say all of them are using different containers, different languages, you have to have someone who makes sure that they go in and make sure it's updated. Yes, we do have different tools that you can think of that will help when it comes to containerization, orchestration, like your OpenShift and so forth. But this could cause some complicity because everyone has to update their different tools or languages that they're using, and might obviously end up not updating what it's really supposed to, and having so many applications at the same time could cause some confusion. So I'll stop there with regards to me showing you the dashboard. So I'll stop sharing, just know that I'm not sharing anything. And then I want to talk about when and why you should move your applications to microservices, right? A lot of organizations will obviously want to move to microservices because of the benefit that we've mentioned here, which are the fact that you can use more technology now. You want to have that competitive edge compared to your competitor. And also, you're just thinking of all the benefits of the fact that you're now creating it in smaller parts and so forth. But as an organization, the most important thing that you need to know is what are you trying to achieve, right? And it's not for the sake of you using new technology. So what is the desired outcome that you're trying to achieve? And you would rather start with small monolithic template modulars rather than starting with microservices if there's no need, and then moving slowly with small parts of your monolithic application into microservices, because it's not as easy as you think, but also you want to make sure that you understand what you're getting yourself into in terms of all these tools that you'll be using and the complexity that comes with it, right? The best fit when it comes to microservices is, we mentioned that if you want to, or you don't want any zero downtime, we've mentioned all the benefits. So if your business cannot do without those things, and also if you have a large development team that is in different geographic areas, so them all using one code base will be very frustrating, and also they have to wait for the other guys in the team to finish creating whatever they're doing in order for them to be able to complete. So we'll rather have a microservices instead of that. Right. So one thing that I want to mention is microservices is all about splitting your applications into smaller applications, right? So you, rather than you having a big application, you want to make it in smaller parts so you can be able to manage that. So now I would like to share my screen. I see the next speaker has joined, but I do want to, I just want to share my screen so I can show you actually a code pattern that I used that will give you a better understanding. So this is one of the simplest code patterns that you can use when it comes to microservices, just making sure that you understand just the basics. So I can just run through it, but I will show you what at the end of the session, what it was, right? So here we're just going to our GitHub and then so I can share this link for you to try and do it by yourself using Bank API. And then what we're getting at the end, right? So I could share obviously everything that we've done before, the fact that we've cloned this repository onto our laptops and then change a few things to make sure that the application works, right? So the whole idea that I'm trying to show you here with this code pattern that we've created. So this is a banking application, and the customer contract has been created separately from the banking account balance, including the other tabs that you can see here. So all of them have been created separately, but they work as a whole. When you're looking at the application, you see it as one, but each part of it has been created separately and it works well together. So here we can just choose one customer ID and it will give us the information about that customer, who they are, right? And you can see the money that they have in their accounts, how much they get paid and so forth. And if you take that customer ID that they've provided there and we put it under customer contract, it will work in conjunction and show us more information about that customer. Now, obviously, different parts of the application or fields that we want to know, like their card, when is it expiring? Now they're telling us how much they've withdrawn and the status and the card, what kind of card they have, right? Because of time, I was rushing a bit, but just see here, I'll also share this link. IBM has created a lot of code patterns that you can look at, and these are all microservices, obviously because of the search that I've done here. And you can, this is the start for you if you want to just get into and understand it much better. These are the code patterns that have been created for you in order for you to understand it much better. And we also have on the same link, we also have different platforms that you can start try out your OpenShift. These are all free for you to try out and start exploring. Maybe if you want to learn more about Linux, there's a Linux community that is there and you can start going through that, right? So I just want to go back to my slide and talk about all the resources that I had or used for this presentation, and also mention a bit about myself. So these are the information. If you really feel that you're interested in microservices and you would like to find out more information or even explore the idea of your organization or maybe get into it, these are some of the books that I read in order for me to provide this training. And this is the information about myself if you want to connect with me. So I'm a developer advocate at IBM, and I'm also a student Scrum Master for the student experience. And so we have different programs. We have the Student Hub, which is for everyone, regardless of you're a student or not. If you don't have exposure in IBMZ, this is a platform where it gives you access to events, videos, and you can become a member and be able to blog, and we also get certificates and so forth. So this is a platform that you can think of and get ahead in also getting to understand different technologies out there. And with that, I'll find out from our host if I can stop the presentation. I know I was a bit fast.